Hey English 111, Miss Brewer here for your week 2 lecture video. So last week we read The Hate You Give, or not, I'm sorry, we started The Hate You Give, but you guys read the poem The Rose That Grew from Concrete by Tupac, and this week we will be completing an analysis essay on that poem. So I'll talk about that in just a second. You guys also are going to, we're going to talk a little bit about grammar this week. So we'll talk about run-on sentences. There's some practice available for you on run-on sentences, and you guys will see some grammar quizzes and things like that later on. So it's important that you guys are doing the practices and kind of becoming comfortable with run-ons and fixing them and identifying them and those types of things. You should be continuing to read the book, The Hate You Give, and you need to be through the first 66 pages by September 6th. So make sure that you are there. Also, last week I did an MLA review, a very basic MLA review with you guys, and you will see some questions on that review in the quiz for this week. So I'm just going to kind of start by talking about a run-on sentence and what it is. And if you can, go ahead and open up that PowerPoint so that you can follow along with me. Okay, so what is a run-on sentence? A run-on sentence is when you have two complete sentences that are fused together, either without proper punctuation or improperly with a comma, okay? A complete sentence has a subject and a verb, and that's really important that we understand subjects and verbs. So, I ran is a complete sentence. I ran, you walked is a run-on sentence because it's two complete sentences that are put together. So a run-on sentence will have two complete sentences, two subjects, two verbs. The first type of run-on sentence is a fused sentence, and that is one that has no punctuation. So like I just said, I ran, you walked, put together, no punctuation. Those are two complete sentences. That's a fused sentence, okay? So there are some examples here. I like blueberries, I don't like bananas, okay? Those are two complete sentences fused together, no punctuation. So a fused sentence is something that has two subjects, two verbs with no punctuation. So how do we fix a fused sentence? Well, you can add a period. I like blueberries, I do not like bananas. Not the best option all the time because then you have really choppy writing if you have like a bunch of short sentences together. So if you've ever written something and a teacher has said this is choppy, it just means there's a whole bunch of short sentences kind of together. So you almost sound like a robot. Adding a semicolon fuses the two sentences into one sentence, so it has proper punctuation, and a semicolon is strong enough that it can separate those two complete thoughts from each other. You can also use a coordinating conjunction with a comma, and when I taught high school, I taught FANBOYS, which was an acronym, FANBOYS, and it stands for all of your coordinating conjunctions, which are listed here: for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. So if you can remember that, then you can fix a fused sentence by adding a comma and a fanboy. You have to have that coordinating conjunction. A comma can't do it by itself, okay? So I like blueberries, comma, but I do not like bananas. Okay, that would work to fix it. You can also use transition words. This works best for longer sentences, and you use a semicolon, a transition word, and a comma, and that separates the two, or brings them together essentially into one sentence, and it makes a nice compound, complex sentence. So you want to throw some of these in when you're writing, okay, but it doesn't have to be all the time, otherwise it just kind of seems pretentious. So I like blueberries, semicolon, however, comma, I do not like bananas, okay? So that makes a very fancy sentence about blueberries and bananas. Now, comma splice is when you have a comma that separates two complete thoughts, two complete sentences. A comma is not strong enough to do it by itself, okay? So a comma needs a coordinating conjunction, a fanboy, in order to be able to do that, okay? So where a semicolon can do it, a semicolon is strong enough to bring the sentences together, all right? A comma is not. So you have a period is strong, semicolon is strong, comma's a little weak, okay? So a comma alone cannot separate your two complete thoughts. And one thing we want to get away from when we learn about using commas is that every time we take a breath, we use a comma, because that's just not true. And that will be incorrect. All right, so in order to correct it, you could use a coordinating conjunction, add one of the fanboys that makes sense. It has to make sense. Or you can separate the two sentences with a period, or you can replace the comma with a semicolon, okay? Or you can always do the semicolon transition word comma. So the same thing to fix the two. But what you can't do is have a fused sentence and use a comma to fix it, because then you just have a comma splice and it's still a run-on sentence. It's just a different kind of run-on sentence. So there are some practices that I've provided for you guys. So go ahead and use those in Moodle. You'll see a comma splice video, which explains the comma splice. So you might want to watch that in addition to going through the PowerPoint. And then this website is awesome because when you click on it, as you go through, you can ask for an explanation and it will explain how to fix it. Why is it a run-on? So definitely utilize that when it comes to understanding your run-on sentences and grammar. All right, so that's just kind of a quick lesson about the run-on. I do look for these things when we are getting into your writing, so it is important that we start to look for them and start to fix them ourselves when we're writing, okay? And I just want to go over what you're going to be doing again at the end of the week, or as you become available to do it. So you will do your quiz, which will be on pages 1 through 66 of The Hate U Give, and your MLA review that I went over last week. There will be questions from there, so make sure you go back and review that before you take the quiz. And then you're going to complete your essay analysis test. So in this, I have included the poem, but you can also have the poem next to you or any notes that you've taken, all right? And what you're going to be doing is you're going to be analyzing that poem. I'm asking you to write a 5-paragraph essay, so do be sure that you are writing a 5-paragraph essay for that essay test. And then finally, you have a journal, and that journal this week is going to suffice for your attendance assignment. So your attendance assignment this week is journal number 2. All right, so make sure you get that done so you can be counted as present in the class. If you have any questions, you can always shoot me an email. I'm happy to address any questions that you may have. For both the quiz and the test, it is a 1 attempt. You have 1 attempt and they are timed, so make sure you're paying attention to your time. Have a great week, and I will check in with you guys next week.